I am interviewing Mrs. Mary Crosby. She is a teacher here at W.H. Taylor Elementary School in Norfolk, Virginia. So let's get started.
Okay.
Mrs. Crosby, how long have you been teaching?
This is my 5th year teaching.
Okay, what made you decide to go with the educational field?
I always actually wanted to be a teacher as a kid growing up. It was something that I always wanted to do. And then I went to Virginia Wesleyan College locally and got interested in the teaching program. And it was kind of always something I wanted to do throughout my life. So.
Okay, was it your first choice or was it an alternative to your first choice?
I would say it would be my first choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what is it exactly that you teach here at W.H. Taylor?
Okay, this year I have a 4th grade class that is inclusion, but it's a little bit different setup than normal. Most normal inclusion, you're going to have pretty average, high average children with some special ed children mixed in, whereas the class that I'm teaching this year is more almost everybody has an IEP or a 504 plan, so we have a lot of learning disabilities. So I have support, I have an assistant, and I also have a special ed teacher, so it's 3 of us and 15 children.
Okay, so are any of your students regular ed or are they all?
I do have some children who are regular ed, but have struggles in certain subjects. Like several of my children have been put up for child study, but have not met the requirements to get an IEP or a 504 plan. So a lot of the accommodations we make for the special ed children actually benefit the children who don't have IEPs or 504s because they struggle in a certain subject area.
Okay. Do you feel like it is difficult to teach an inclusion classroom aside from a regular setting?
You know, it's interesting because I've taught regular ed, I've taught gifted, and now I've taught special ed. And so the difference really for me is taking the same material that everybody has to learn and bringing it to a level that's more manageable just through strategies and organization. And like today we did a writing project where the kids had more of like a fill-in-the-blank outline for how to write, whereas last year when we did the same project in gifted ed, the kids just wrote. So it's just making accommodations to make the material more reachable for everyone.
Okay. So how do you feel about inclusion settings? Do you think that is beneficial to students, or how do you feel about it?
In a normal inclusion setting where you have high average children and inclusion children, sometimes I find it to be a little detrimental to the children who don't have disabilities, just because sometimes we have to move at a little bit slower pace, or sometimes I pulled something down and then I'm trying to find an enrichment activity for the higher children. This class works really well just because we have more of a level playing field. But when you have really, I mean, we've even done some gifted ed and inclusion type settings, and that's really challenging.
Okay.
Really challenging.
So you feel that the students who aren't as slow learners are losing out by being?
Kind of.
Okay.
I kind of feel, and I know all the current research says that inclusion is the way to go, but sometimes I do feel that it's detrimental to the children who are gifted or who work at a faster pace when so much of the energy and the focus of the attention is going to children who are having difficulty with the concepts that we're covering. So that would be my only concern. I really like teaching special ed and I like teaching inclusion. I just do worry about enriching the children who don't need the accommodations and to move as slowly.
So would you prefer to teach inclusion or gifted or regular ed? Or it doesn't really matter?
It probably doesn't really matter. I really enjoyed gifted a lot, and I really am enjoying my kids this year. So, I like the outliers. So either way.
So is the inclusion class more difficult to teach than the gifted?
Yes.
A lot difficult. So what has been the most difficult thing that you would say that you've encountered? And you may have had many, but
yeah. The biggest difficulty with my class would be you're going around and you really think they've got a concept. You know, you're checking them, you're giving them independent practice, you're asking questions, and they seem to have it. and then you come back the next day or you give a quiz the next day and you find out that they have no clue. And you feel like you've poured your heart and soul into them learning it, and you feel really confident, oh, they've got it, you know, we're finally on the right track. And then you give them a quiz the next day of the same thing that you taught, and they haven't retained any of it. So my concern is more, or my trouble is more like the memory issues, the stuff that gets lost along the way, the stuff that you go, you really have never heard that, or you really can't do that, or, you know, I have a little boy who'll come up and he'll say, Mrs. Crosby, I forgot my lunch number. He's in 4th grade. And you say, Trey, your lunch number is blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, that's right. I remember my lunch number. You know, a lot of just memory type things that we see over and over again.
Okay. So if you had a choice, because I know everybody says that the pay isn't good for teachers,
Right.
would you switch careers, or this is your destiny?
I can very honestly say that I don't see myself doing this for 35 years.
Okay.
We have a lot of veteran teachers, 35, 40-year veteran teachers, and I actually said to someone today, I love my children, I love my job, but it's emotionally, it's physically, it's exhausting. And I just don't know that at 50 and 60, if I'm going to be able to keep up,
Right.
honestly. So given the opportunity, if some fantastic job came along in 10 years, I may take up on it. Kind of feel like I did my contribution, and
Right.
now I'm moving on to something else.
Okay.
Very honestly. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Crosby. That concludes our interview.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.